Hello. This is how I made a stylized glass shader in Blender for my Space Dog project. Note, this stylized glass material can only be achieved using Blender's Eevee engine. By following this tutorial, you can create a material that you can control its color, glossiness, and how bright it shines. Now, let's create a new material from scratch. Add a new material and name it whatever you want. In this case, I named it glass material. After that, apply it to all the objects that you want to appear as glass. On the render properties, make sure you are using Eevee render engine. This is optional, but you can turn your ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections. Go to your shader editor panel and remove the principal BSDF. Now add a mix shader node. Connect a transparent BSDF on the upper socket and an emission shader node on the bottom socket. After that, go to the material properties, which is the red circle icon on the right side of your screen. Scroll down and go to Settings. Tick the backface culling. Change the blend mode to alpha blend, and the shadow mode to alpha hashed. Tick the show backface, screen space refraction and subsurface translucency. Back to the shader editor. Add a Fernal node and connect it to the factor socket. Then add a color ramp. Change the color ramp values as such. The white value represents the emission shader below and the black value is the transparent BSDF. Now add a new mix shader between the old mix shader and the material output, and connect an emission shader on its lower socket. After that, for the highlights, add a glossy BSDF and connect it to the factor socket, then attach a shader to our RGB node and a color ramp. In the glossy BSDF, set the roughness to 0. Change the color ramp's gradient mode from linear to constant to get sharp edges for the highlights. Then, change the color ramp's values depending on how shiny you want your material to look. That's about it. The base material is done. If you want a layered or a thick glass look, just add a solidify modifier to your object. But if you ask me, I don't like the solidified version. To change the color of the glass, just play with the color of the first emission shader near the end of the node tree. And the other emission shader controls the color and brightness of the highlights. That's about it. Hope you learned something new. Please like and subscribe. This helps the channel a lot.